globally. Credit Suisse itself says it's taking decisive action to strengthen its finances. These assurances seem to have helped. For now, the bank's shares are on the rebound. The question is whether investors are scrambling to find out if there are any other banks with equally major problems. I'm the BBC's Leanna Byrne for Marketplace.
Stock index futures in the U.S. are mixed at the moment. S&P futures are down 0.1%. NASDAQ futures are up 0.3%. Now for a teachable moment on what economists call moral hazard. It's the worry that people are more likely to drive like knuckleheads if they have car insurance, but the banking system version. Part one of the response to the runs on Silicon Valley and Signature banks was to bring calm to the rest of the banking system by allowing banks to easily borrow money against their government bond holdings. Now these are holdings that banks are having some trouble selling because interest rates are rising these days. Talking about the Federal Reserve's Bank Term Funding Program. But will the Fed, saying banks, we've got your back, encourage banks to take dangerous risks? Let's get some insight by turning to Joseph Wang, Chief Investment Officer at the investment advisory firm Monetary Macro. Thanks for helping.
It's a pleasure to be here, David.
Just so people understand, this new system is, hey bank, if a lot of depositors come by for their money at once and you can't handle the sudden flow, you banks can borrow from us, the central bank, automatically to cover things like the bonds in your portfolio. But they're government bonds. If you hold them to maturity, they'd be worth the full amount. Isn't this Fed system just helping those banks buy some time?
Well, one of the basic principles of any bank is to manage interest rate risk. Now, a bank has to manage both their assets well so that they don't have too much interest rate risk, but also their liabilities as well, such that you won't have all these depositors come and ask for their money back at the same time. And they have a lot of tools to do this. And as you can see, as the Fed raised rates, the banking system as a whole was fine. But to your point, interest rate risk is an important component of any asset management. What you're doing is you're basically socializing that away.
And you object to it philosophically, but it sounds like you also object to it in a practical sense. Why is it a problem beyond the philosophical objection?
What you're really doing right now is, in a sense, you are allowing banks to not have to worry about their interest rate risk. And that encourages, I think, irresponsible behavior. The way that a market economy works is that if a business does a good job, we want it to succeed. And if a business does a bad job, we don't want it to succeed. But what we're doing right now is we're saying that you can go and, you don't even have to care about your interest rate risk at all. And what we're suggesting too is you don't have to worry about your depositors as well, because the Fed or the government will bail them out.
I can see. I mean, if Bank X is poorly run and has made risky choices, you would like to see it get a comeuppance. But the thing with banking is there can be this contagion, and you could get other people worried about other banks that are practicing safer practices affected by the first bank's predicament, and it ruins it for everybody.
You're exactly right. Bank contagion is very real in part because there's a big psychological component to this. If you're a depositor and you see one bank fail, you might get worried and start to withdraw money from your own bank. And your own bank, even though it's fine, it just can't handle all that. So this is an age-old problem, and it was a particularly big problem in the great financial crises when we actually had many important banks fail. But we've made the banking sector a lot safer. There have been tremendous changes to the banking sector. So I think the banking system today is much stronger than it was before. And so it would have been able to withstand the failure of a regional bank without having runs.
Joseph Wang is Chief Investment Officer at the investment advisory firm Monetary Macro. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, David.
Beyond Silicon Valley and Signature banks, a third mid-sized one is being scrutinized carefully by depositors and investors. Yesterday, the credit rating of First Republic was cut down to junk status by two rating services. Today, Bloomberg News, citing unnamed sources, is reporting that among the options First Republic is considering is finding a larger rival to buy it up.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by the Slowdown Podcast. Join award-winning poet Major Jackson, the newest host of the Slowdown, for a hand-picked poem and a moment of reflection every weekday.
Another big story this week, the Biden administration is proposing the first standards aimed at making drinking water safe from so-called forever chemicals, also known as PFAS chemicals. They're found in everything from waterproof clothing to toilet paper, it turns out. Marketplace's Lily Jamali reports.
The proposal would place enforceable limits on forever chemicals for the first time, according to the EPA's Eric Bernison.
This is really a historic moment. The agency has been working for some years now to develop this proposed regulation.
Bernison says the same properties that make forever chemicals so useful also mean they linger in the environment and in the human body and can cause serious health problems, including cancer.
I want to applaud the EPA for coming out with sensible limits to these forever chemicals.
Yvonne Taylor is with the environmental advocacy group Seneca Lake Guardian. It's based in the New York State Finger Lakes, which provide drinking water to 1.5 million people.
Fish in many of these waters contain high levels of forever chemicals. So if it's in the fish, it's in our drinking water.
But the American Chemical Council, an industry trade group, says it worries about compliance costs, which could be in the billions of dollars. For utilities, supply chain concerns also loom large, says Stephanie Schley of the Association of State Drinking Water Administrators.
Are they going to have the materials needed to get all of this up and running in time for the compliance date of the rule?
Nevertheless, she says the EPA's proposed standards provide a new clarity and consistency. I'm Lily Jamali for Marketplace.
And the 10-year interest rate this morning remains low by recent standards, 3.49%. David Brancaccio, Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.
WNYC is supported by Optimum Business, offering products like secure internet with speeds up to 1 gig and built-in cybersecurity to help businesses stay connected. More at 866-218-2913 or at optimum.com/business.
Hello, my name is Melissa Williams. I am a Listener's Legacy Circle member, and I'm a WNYC groupie. When you have something of value, you want to support it. So I saw an opportunity to join the Listener's Legacy Circle, and I went, this is something that's important to me, and this is something that I want to be able to do for future generations.
To learn more about the Listener's Legacy Circle, call 646-829-4587 or email legacygiving@wnyc.org.